Tonight's lecture really is combined of a few things. First of all, as I promised you last week, I would share a, a schedule, a daily schedule that I think can work for most of us that we can use during the month of Ramadan. But prior to doing that, I wanted to talk about something I think is very important. For many Muslims today, Ramadan becomes something of an occasion, something of an anniversary, something extremely important, which it is. It is important. It is an anniversary from that perspective. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did mention the month of Ramadan in the Quran specifically, where He said, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's behavior during the month of Ramadan became intense. He changed a lot of himself, where he did more than what he usually does. But notice I said he does more than what he usually does. So it wasn't a month where all of a sudden people became religious. It was a month that people became more religious. They increased in their salah, they increased in their fasting, they increased in their sadaqah. They put more effort, but it was more effort over what they had been doing throughout the year. Islam is not it's not an anniversary faith. It's not an occasional faith where we would remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we remember our obligations on a place or time frame. We guide our life, all of our lives, according to the Quran and Sunnah. It becomes our constitution, it becomes our flashlight that we follow. And it's not just when we feel like it or when we feel that we need the help, or when things, for example, kind of change. People will go to Mecca, and then all of a sudden over there in Mecca, they'll be just a different breed of people because they're at Hajj, so they have to uplift their game. If you're uplifting your game, that's one thing, but all of a sudden now, they just completely revamp themselves. And the moment they finish Hajj and return home, and they go back to whatever they were prior to their journey to Mecca. And some people also do the same thing with time events. They would live their lives carelessly, don't care, have no whatsoever consequences related to what they do. And then the moment the month of Ramadan starts, it's like you're turning an on switch. And then everything in that family or that person's lives change. They start paying attention to reading the Quran Kareem and every other rituals that they do during the month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists throughout the whole year. He exists throughout every second and moment. Now, none of us will ever be the same throughout the whole year at that level of Ramadan, but that doesn't mean that we go from 0 to 100. We become more intense. Aisha, she said, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kana Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam jawad, وكان أجود ما يكون في رمضان. He was generous, but then he was the most generous during the month of Ramadan. So there was never a moment in the life of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he was stingy. He was generous. Now, he would always have his night prayers throughout the whole year. The hadith Aisha also, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wake up at night and he would pray, and she would be laying, sleeping in front of him. And then when he does his sujood, he would squeeze her thighs so she can fold her feet so he can have room to do his sujood. So he was doing that throughout the whole year. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mentioned in the Quran Kareem, 1/3 of the night, 2/3, half of it, but he always did. But then when Ramadan came, he just went to a different level, to where now he would pray all night. He always fasted. And sometimes he will fast 2 days in a row. but he never really fasted the whole month of the other months until Ramadan comes. So the Ramadan allows us to become more energetic. And the reason why that in Ramadan we become more energetic because we have the tools in our hands to be better. Because the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have said in the hadith, when Ramadan enters, then the gates of Jannah are open, while the gates of hell are locked and closed, and the shaitan himself is chained. So there's three major things that are happening right here now. Three major events that are happening. One, that the blessings and mercy are expanded in the universe because the gates of Jannah are left open, while cruelty and evil is finding itself locked in because the gates of hell are closed. And then the influence that whispers in our ears at all times to do what's wrong is chained, the shaitan. That leaves us only with who we are and what we talk internally in our own selves and the environment that we're at. That's our biggest challenge. So there is more potential in Ramadan for us to be better. But like I said, that doesn't mean that we're only Muslims during the month of Ramadan. We should have been struggling or fighting or at least finding ourselves at the minimal throughout the whole year. In the Ramadan, we take advantage of the moment. We take advantage of the gates of Jannah being open and the gates of hell being closed, and the shaitan is changed to make up for whatever loss we have or we suffered during the year. So there is a potential in Ramadan for us to do better. Add to it that in Ramadan, because human beings in nature react better when they are within a group. When you're on your own, you're more likely to falter, you're more likely to become weak in fighting your desires. So Rasulullah in the hadith said, أقوى ما يكون الشيطان على الواحد. The shaitan is more forceful, more successful, more influential on one person. And then he's weaker with the two and more weaker with the three. So the more people join in to do something, the more likely you are going to do better. You know, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala support says, Yadullahi ma'al jama'ah, wa man shadda fi nar. The support of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always be within a group. And when one isolates themselves, they're only isolating themselves towards hellfire, meaning they're more in tune to do what's wrong. When you are alone, you are hearing your whispers, you're hearing your thoughts, temptations are out there, you're being pulled left and right. When you're with the group, they work as shields to help you maintain a straight line. And that is why Rasulullah also in another hadith, when he talked about friendship, he encouraged us to have a righteous friend and avoid friends that will seduce us to do something wrong. He said, مثل الجليس الصالح والجليس السوء. The one that spends time with you and he's a good person, and example of another person that spends time with you and he's not a good person. Because you, no matter how strong you are, no matter how independent you are, you will be influenced by your surroundings. So if your company is good, then you're like someone that's selling perfume. You're either going to buy from them, or at least you're going to smell a good scent. It's not going to be stinky in that atmosphere that you're at. And a good friend, a friend that helps you to do the right thing, if you're not going to do the right thing, at least you're not going to do the wrong thing, because he's not going to allow that happen. But if your company is bad, then the Rasul says it's like a wielder. He's either going to burn your clothes, or you're going to at least smell a bad scent from the fire. And someone that is not a positive influence on you, he's a negative influence on you. If you're not even going to do what he's trying to influence you to do, which is wrong, at least he's going to get in the way of you doing what's right. So you're losing here. All you're going to hear. The thing about Ramadan is people an exception of this year, it's going to be kind of hard to do this, but usually people fast together. They break their fast together. They pray together. So it's a group support. Even with people that have addictions and they're suffering, when they go for counseling, they usually are put in group counseling. They're not put on one-to-one counseling, because when you are within a group that's going through what you're going through, and they're trying to figure a way to find, they're trying to find their way out. It helps you out because you're sharing experiences. You're feeling I'm not the only one that's suffering. So Ramadan is a group activity. So with that group activity, they're helping you sustain that momentum. Like exercise also. If you are exercising alone, no matter how much you want to get fit, no matter how much you can hear yourself you're telling yourself, I want to get better, I want to get fit, I want to exercise, I want to do this plan, you will find yourself falling behind in a few days. But if you are doing it with someone, and there's almost like a competition, or each one of you are pushing each other, and then you're more likely to sustain that energy, and then you will see the difference. You will see the results that will help you to continue. Ramadan does that. You see people fasting, you fast with them. You see people praying, you pray with them. You see people reading the Quran, you read it with them. So yes, Ramadan does help from that perspective also. But again, it's not an excuse that outside of Ramadan you don't. Because at the end of the day, Yawm al-Qiyamah, each one of us will be asked individually. We will not be judged as a group. People will be called as a group, but then judged individually. So there's no excuse for saying, وَمَا أَنَا إِلَّا مِنْ وَزَيَّةَ إِنْ غَوَتْ غَوَيْتُ وَإِنْ تَرْشُدْ وَزَيَّةُ أَرْشُدِي. Yeah, I am only a member of a clan of Wazayya. If they go right, I go right. If they go wrong, I go wrong. إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا عَلَى أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ مُقْتَدُونَ. We found our forefathers do this, and we are just following them. So you will be judged alone, but it sure works better when you do your activity as a group in this life. And we find that in all of our rituals. In Salah, it's a group activity. In Siyam, it's a group activity. In Hajj, it's a group activity. In Zakat, it's a group activity. In Jihad, it's a group activity. Even if you are traveling for pleasure, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam encouraged the group to travel, not to travel alone. He said, if one travels alone, then he is like a shaitan. What does he mean by like a shaitan? Because everything in his mind that would occur during his journey, during his travel, will all be negative thoughts mostly. And even if they are not negative thoughts, they're not decent thoughts. And if anyone has ever traveled on a plane, if you're sitting there and you just storm in your thoughts, you see that they're not usually a positive thoughts. So he said, Al-wahid shaitan, wal-ithnan shaitan, and if they're two, they can resemble like two shaitans, but if they are three, then he said they're a group. He applauded the three to travel. So anytime you are within a group, it's better. And our scholars have said in the past, if someone is struggling religiously, then they should not be alone. They should always find company to be with them. Not just religiously, if you're emotionally distressed, you should find company, because the longer you are alone, the more likely that it's not going to be good. That's why we find today with the coronavirus pandemic, people are coming out with depression and stress and anxiety and all of that because they found themselves isolated from the group that they had been supported by. They never knew that the society was a supporting mechanism for them. They never knew that their job is a supporting mechanism for them. They never thought that school is a supporting mechanism for them. It kept their sanity. Now that they found themselves alone, they're left to their thoughts of fear. They're fearing the consequences of the financial fall down, or the medical possibilities of illness, etc. Now you can see them in a situation where they would wish they're somewhere else, because that support mechanism disappeared. Ramadan offers that support mechanism. So with the shaitan being changed, the gates of Jannah being open, the gates of hell being closed, and the blessed of Ramadan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to feel the aura of it, the aura of spirituality, in doing everything as a group, it helps. Add to it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the fasting to be for him, and he rewards for it. And when he said, I will reward, he didn't mention a specific word. It's not Jannah or so-and-so hasanats. Just the comfort, the peace within ourselves when we fast, it's something. And that is why people during Ramadan, they feel more at peace. That is a reward. Nobody really wants to stop themselves from eating. Food is one of the delicacies of life. It's a joy to have a good meal. And to deprive yourself from food and water is not something simple. But then you find people saying they're the happiest that they are during the month of Ramadan. And they forget their hunger, they forget their thirst. Doesn't mean that it went away. They just forgotten about it. Mentally, they became consumed with the joy and the comfort and the spirituality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had the universe transform into, to where all of a sudden water and food are second thoughts. They're not what comes to a person's mind at the time. Now add to it that the month of Ramadan is where the Quran al-Kareem, or when the Quran al-Kareem was revealed, the greatest miracle of all times, the exact words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his attributes. And I can go on and on and on about Ramadan being a special month. But I just wanted to start with this by saying, as special as Ramadan is, it is not a makeup for someone that did not live throughout the whole year understanding that he's still a Muslim, and only remember that he is a Muslim until the month of Ramadan came in. But we do make up for our shortcomings during this month. Now, as I said, that we become better with the group. We produce better with the group. Under the circumstances that we have today, we're separated from the external support group that always was there for us. Doesn't mean we still don't have a group. We do. We still have our family. We still have our friends, neighbors. We might not be able to sit together, but we can do things together. And one of the things that we're blessed at our times is what we're doing right now. These social media devices have reshaped how people communicate. I was just talking with someone today that they said within all their lives, their family has never been able to sit and talk together at one time. And now they're using Zoom, just like we're doing right now. And all their family members at the same time are meeting and chatting and laughing and enjoying themselves. One in Canada, another one somewhere in another country, and one here in the States. They're in about 6 different countries, but at the same time, they're getting together. We can still have this support group by creating our own small group and then keeping our ICT group intact. So I have my small group with my families and friends to where we communicate, and this is where our schedule is going to come in, where we communicate and we can read the Quran together, we can have a lecture together, we can ask each other about how the day went in the fasting, we can share meals together. Our sisters can also share, instead of the gossip, they can share what they're cooking, whatever, and all that. And we can still have a very wonderful Ramadan. In fact, I feel that if we utilize the social media that we have these days in a good way, in the sense of so many opportunities or channels today for lectures online, more than I can count. One can have more than they could have had in the masjid. Many of us, when we go to the masjid, we're stuck to hear one person talking all the time, the imam. And as good as the imam is, people over time gets bored. Even the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with his excellence, Abu Huraira used to say, كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يتخولون بالموعظة خشية الملل. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to choose the right time to give us a reminder because he feared we will get bored. Man, who would ever think that anyone would get bored from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? But he knew that human nature tend to get bored. So he would very rarely give a reminder so people will take it seriously. Today, you don't really have to listen to one person. If you go online, Facebook or Zooms and all that, you will see in waves where different speakers with different talents and different knowledge will be on an everyday, day and night in Ramadan giving lectures. You can pick and choose. We all have different flavors. We all have different likes. So this person's flavor is scientific talks. You'll find that. This other one is spiritual talks, where it's soft and gentle and hard, warm. You'll find that. And this one is more intellectual and educational. You'll find that too. And these things are there. They already started, and they're only gonna grow even more. There's women right now that are giving lectures too, where they probably never had access to a masjid, but now they're on equal ground with their fellow brothers to where they have lectures also. Bottom line is, I don't think we have an excuse as we probably would have had if Ramadan was in the masjid, to find our likes, find our flavors, and we can continue with that. We create our own support group. And then how many times during the past years that many of our families complained that we never had iftar together. And we would say, SubhanAllah, out of the 29, 30 days, I only had iftar one time at home. Now you're probably going to have iftar every single day with your family. How amazing is that? How awesome is that if you actually make it work? So again, I keep repeating this again and again from last week till now. If you start thinking positive and you take advantage of what you have, then it could work in your favor. And human beings are amazing to adapt. Let me repeat this. Human beings are incredible to adapt. You know, we have a saying in Yemen, ما خلق الله من أرض إلا خلق الله لها ناس أشد منها. Allah Ta'ala did not create a land that He did not create, a harsh land that He did not create stronger people for it. So we are very flexible. We adapt to our circumstances, situations. People go to prison and they are terrified, and all of a sudden with time, prison becomes home. And with time, this isolation will become adaptable. We will find our comfort within it. Find that for the month of Ramadan. I would like to share in the last 5 minutes a calendar I think might work. And let's start with suhoor. And I'm starting with suhoor because for many Muslims, they don't wake up to eat suhoor. And they're missing out. They're missing out a lot. They're missing out first, the blessings. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال إن في السحور بركة. Within suhoor, there's a lot of blessings. Blessings because it's the last portion of the night when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so close to us. He comes down to our heavens. And blessings because it nurtures the body to where the body is capable of handling the hunger and the thirst throughout the whole day. So make sure you get up for suhoor. Inshallah, you eat a date. Inshallah, just drinking water. But do something. Eat something that lasts a few minutes for adhan. And I would recommend that if you are going to wake up for suhoor, which I'm encouraging you to, then do your witr when you wake up for suhoor. Delay your witr until suhoor because witr, the later witr is prayed, closer it is to Fajr, the more rewarding it is. And you pray Fajr, then I would suggest that you sit in your place until the sun rises. And just do dhikr or read Quran, whatever it is you want to do during that 35 minutes. It's about 35 to 40 minutes from the end of Fajr Salah till the sun rises. As long as you're sitting in your place, the angels are making dua for you. They're asking mercy for you and blessings for you. So you have a team that is dedicated to pray for you without much effort that you need to do. Even if you're not even sitting in, even if you're not doing dhikr or reading Quran, just sitting there, maintaining your position for 35 extra minutes, you have a team of angels that are praying for you, inshallah. Then after that, if you want to go back and rest, you want to take that time and call it a me time and do your own thing, read the Quran al-Kareem. Or like I said, if you have kids in the house, teenagers, I'm sure they want to go back and sleep at that time. There's no school. You don't have work, most of us. If you do have work, you can go to work until noon. When noon comes, when Dhuhr comes, pray your Dhuhr. And then from Dhuhr to Asr, I suggest that is your Quran time. Pick up Quran and start reading for about an hour and a half. Or at least one juz, like I said last week, the juz will take about 35 minutes. So read Quran after Dhuhr. You have slept probably till 10 or 11. So you're still fresh, you're still rested. So that's your morning time probably because of the coronavirus. Read Quran after Dhuhr for about an hour and a half. And then after you finish reading the Quran, pick up another book and read something. This tafsir of the ayats that you were reading, or just some novel that you can take advantage of. Let that be intellectually motivating. Or maybe you can help your kids do their homework or something. After us, pray us. After us, attend a lecture with us. We will have a lecture after Asr, inshallah. We'll try to do that on a daily basis, where we will have a 35-minute lecture. And we won't have a long lecture after Asr because we want to make sure that we leave time to make the iftar, to cook the food. But we will have immediately after Asr about 35 minutes of a lecture, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And each day it will be different, but the theme really is Ramadan and the Quran al-Kareem, and the things that fall under those two categories of Ramadan and the Quran al-Kareem. We might talk about a few events that happened during the month of Ramadan at the time of the Rasul ﷺ or after, but everything that we will be talking about, inshallah, will be tied to Ramadan, inshallah. After the 35 minutes, we will stop. We'll allow everybody to do whatever they're doing at their homes, those who are cooking food or those who, whatever it is that you want to indulge yourself in. Maybe spend time with the kids while the food is being cooked. Help cook the food. If you're not the one that usually cooks the food, you can help do so. Then pray Maghrib. From Maghrib to Isha, that's your family time. It's not your me time. It's family time. Eat together, chat, have sweets, have fun. I would love to see some quizzes that is given to the families to see who wins, whether it is religious quizzes or whatever it is that you can have your kids research and have fun with it. And then after Isha, you pray Taraweeh with your family. We cannot pray Taraweeh virtually. So unfortunately, that doesn't work. Salah has to be together. The Imam, the lines have to be connected. And when you're praying virtually, the lines are not connected. So Taraweeh, even though it's Sunnah, you cannot pray virtually. So the Imam is in one state or one house and you're in another house. We cannot do that. So you have to pray together with your family. After you pray Taraweeh, you can pray 8 rak'ahs, you can pray 20 rak'ahs, how many rak'ahs you can. You can use the Mus'haf to read the Quran al-Kareem. But after that, have fun. This is, I call it the fun time with you and your family, with your kids, board games, whatever it is you entertain yourself with the family. Watch a good story, read a good storybook with your family, and then give your kids their me time. Because if you suffocate them throughout the whole day and night, they're not going to be happy in Ramadan. So let them get their free time to where they're doing their own thing. Just remind them that whatever they're doing, they need to do the right thing during that time. And that's your night until whatever time you go to sleep. There will be lectures in the evening. I don't know if we will do so. We're still discussing this. But even if we're not doing the lectures, I'm not doing the lectures, we're setting up with the Imams organization right now to where we have lectures until 11 p.m., 12 p.m. Eastern Zone. So lectures will go to the wee hours, live lectures, where people will, at any given time, they can join, inshallah. We'll share all of those. One of the things I think we might do, even if we don't do a lecture at night, but I think it will be a very good thing to do after Taraweeh, is to have a 20 minute question and answers, where those who have questions, we can get together, inshallah, and you ask a live question, and I try to answer as best as I can, if I can, inshallah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a simple daily schedule. You can amend some of it, change some of it, whatever is comfortable for you. But make sure that your day is not full of just sleep, because you're already bored. You're adding boredom to boredom during the month of Ramadan. Remember, there's moments of dhikr, there's moments of the Quran Kareem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this month a month of dhikr, not just a month of refraining from food and water. Remember the do's and don'ts of Ramadan. We talked about that last week. Alhamdulillah. And that's just a very simple schedule that you can, inshallah, incorporate to your family if you wish, or do something of your own. That is our today's lecture, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.